30-second board. Here are the topics headed to the playoffs. Pretty fun, JT, that there are 5 different champions this year in the regular season. No one repeated. Of course, Jett Lawrence, RJ Hampshire, Tom Vial, and Monster Energy Supercross. Chase Sexton and Haiden Deegan, the champions of Pro Motocross. So that makes it just that much more unpredictable when we get to the hybrid style racing here.
Yeah, it'll be great to see who can kind of step up and get that second championship of 2024. And there are so many storylines that we're going to get to, so many reasons why we could point to certain riders finding success here in September. But as they say, that's why they drop the gate. That's why it's racing. We don't quite know. And one of the reasons we're so uncertain is this completely different format. Now, we went through this once a year ago, but for all these riders, you think about what they're going to get thrown into. Now, I look at it as a little bit of a hybrid, right? The points are totally different, but you look at the way the races go. There are 2 motos, but they're kind of that Supercross main event type length. But the overall leans back into motocross. Highest score, overall winner. So there's a little bit of everything. You know, if you love the motocross format as a fan, if you love the Supercross setup as a fan, you're going to get all of it, Weege, and that's what makes these races so unique.
Yeah, and talking to folks that experienced it by racing last year, that 20-minute 2-moto length, it really is hard to figure out. Is that a sprint or is it not? I mean, 20 minutes in a Supercross main feels like a long time, but it's not as long as the motos they've just been doing. And also, I think a factor is the overall doesn't pay points per moto. It only pays points per overall, which is a little different than a motocross race, kind of more what you'd see in a Triple Crown format of Supercross. So many things to get used to. At least the riders got to experience it last year. So we asked them, what is their knowledge of SMX Playoffs based on what they've done so far?
It is really anything can happen, so you got to execute. I mean, this is 3 races of executing everything pretty much perfect. A whole lot of money and another championship, so the goal is to go win it.
The second and third round, I really think are the most important ones, just due to the double and triple points. Especially in the last one, triple points, it's kind of, you know, winner takes all on that round specifically, but you got to be close enough to the fight to give yourself a chance on the last round.
Yeah, just try to be consistent through those first 2 and try to win the last one with the triple points.
I think we're in a lot better of a spot this year, and especially since we have a year under our belt, we're kind of knowing what to expect.
I'm just excited to be on something new. You know, it's going to be exciting, just new tracks and new challenge.
Bring what I learned last year and apply it to new big bike.
You kind of just build, and then the last one you kind of try and hit it up, nail on the head, and win that one. I'm looking forward to it, and obviously next week we'll get on SMX and start messing around on that.
Okay, so with all this in mind, the riders actually do know, to a degree, what they're up against this year, but it only matters how they perform against each other, JT, and we'd be lying if we didn't say that the number 1 bench racing question I believe that everyone has is Chase Sexton, huge momentum, dominant in Pro Motocross. Jett Lawrence returning to the track. I think this is what the fans in the stands starting this weekend are going to be keyed in on. Jett versus Chase.
And they should. The problem for me is that I don't think this is going to be a true representation of certainly what we'll see in 2025, and maybe not what we'll see at rounds 2 and rounds 3 of this SMX World Championship. Remember, Jett is coming off an injury. He is not going to be 100%. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near 100%. So it would not shock me to see the Chase Sexton story continue. The same things we saw happen in the final few rounds of Pro Motocross. I think we could see that again here at Charlotte, but that doesn't mean that there's been a fundamental shift in the pecking order in this racing world. I just think it's more of a representation of where the injuries are and where the recoveries are at this point.
And remember, Sexton did win Charlotte last year, and Jett struggled in Charlotte last year and still won the SMX World Championship on the strengths of races 2 and 3. But he has a little bit bigger hole to dig out of. Let's look at the standings coming in. Jett is actually further back in the seeding than he was last year. And last year, he didn't even score any 450 Supercross points. This year, he's the 450 Supercross champ. It shows how much ground you lose with the 2-moto format in Pro Motocross and all the time you missed. So Jett Lawrence, 6th ranked, coming in 9 points behind Sexton. Hunter Lawrence is actually 2nd in points. And don't forget that riders like Webb and Tomac, man, they're just hovering top 10. They have a steep climb, JT.
Yeah, the setup is tougher for Jett on literally every single level there is. New motorcycle, coming off an injury, further points behind. But for Chase Sexton, could you ask for a better setup than this? I don't believe you could. Momentum, points lead going into a race you won last year. If he doesn't get it done, if Chase Sexton doesn't win this SMX World Championship, I think he could only look at himself as a reason to blame, because it is the ideal setup. Everyone else is either further points behind or further behind in where they're going to be in their performance level. So game on Chase Sexton.
We talk a lot about the mystery of SMX. What condition are the riders in? Are they prepared for the tracks this year? They do get a little bonus time on Friday. We have a 2-day format at these races, which means practice on Friday. They will get to do some press riding on a normal weekend, but it's not the same as this. And that's so the fans can watch them ride. We have a lot going on, JT. A live press conference we'll host. We'll ask these riders about their recovery, and a live show for the fans, the podcast mashup at 5 o'clock. And also in between, pit bike racing and a lot of other fun stuff. So come on out Friday and learn with us.
Yeah, this is a return to the weekend event of yesteryear. It's almost like a Motocross of Nations type feel where people are going to be camping. There's things all day long on Friday. Then all the real racing goes on Saturday. So a lot to see. Hopefully everybody can get out there on Friday. And I think as time grows, this Friday event will become more and more popular because you don't get the kind of behind the scenes feel at normal races that you are at these SMX playoff rounds. And another one of the biggest aspects of this new playoff championship, I believe, is the actions of the riders. There are so many riders coming back for these 3 rounds that, let's face it, they would be on the couch probably the entire month of September and then start thinking about 2025. And you see the list there: Jett Lawrence, Cooper Webb, Ken Roczen, Joe Shimoda, and Cameron McAdoo, who we have not seen in months and months. All these riders are making their return. And Eli Tomac, I think, came back earlier than he would have liked to. You could even argue he wouldn't have come back at all had this championship not been in place. So on top of all the other great things that this is bringing to the sport, it's bringing the stars back.
Yeah, technically Tomac is not returning because we did just see him race, and same thing with RJ Hampshire. We did just see him race the final 2 rounds of Pro Motocross, but he did not come back for Pro Motocross. They came back to use Pro Motocross as a springboard to SMX. Well, there's one rider not coming off of time off, instead coming off of the Pro Motocross Championship, and in dominant fashion. Haiden Deegan, JT, even wrapped it with a moto victory at the last race of the year at Ironman just to really stamp it. And he's last year's SMX World Champion already. But we go back to a bit more of a Supercross type situation, and it was ups and downs, as you can see here, literally in Supercross. So is Deegan the favorite, or is the tilt toward a little more of a hybrid Supercross arrangement? Did this give other riders a shot to take him down? What do you think?
Well, he is the favorite. I do believe that. But again, I would look back at the points format, and you can be the favorite. You can have a great opening round. It's going to come down to round 2 and especially round 3 to see who wins this championship. So yes, on paper, I think that Haiden Deegan should be considered the favorite. But as we know, with this format and the chaos that ensues, it's going to be anybody's championship.
If you look at the 250 SMX points coming in, huge advantage for Haiden, who had the most combined points, Motocross and Supercross. Starts with a slight edge over Levi Kitchen and Tom Vial. And Hampshire is not even in the top 10 because he didn't score many points in Motocross. So that's a steep hill to climb. One other rider to watch, JT, is Tom Vial. I think the stereotype is that the European racers are raised on Unadilla type natural terrain tracks. JT, you've been to some MXGP events that look kind of similar to SMX. They're hybrid tracks. They make them motocross-like, but they're built man-made. So I think Vial might be better than we expect.
Yeah, and for me, it's going to come down to the starts. I truly believe that the start at these races, especially Charlotte, it was so incredibly difficult to pass last year. If you put yourself in a great position early on, you will be set up for success the rest of the night. I look back at Haiden Deegan's second moto start at Charlotte. He went to the very inside gate. It did not work. And we've seen a propensity from Deegan to take risks with his starting position. He did it at Ironman, did it last year at Charlotte. So watch for that. If Deegan starts 10th in a moto on that split start and doesn't come out, he's not going to race towards the front. Where a guy like Vial, we've seen Kitchen get great starts on a more Supercross type format. Those guys can sneak out of there with a Charlotte win.
Also part of the format at Charlotte is the World All-Stars. So we'll have 65s in Charlotte. We'll have Super Minis racing in Texas, and then 250s racing at the finale in Las Vegas. 65 World All-Stars raced in Charlotte last year, JT. I know people that were in the stands. This is the race closest to where I live. I had friends go, and the thing that they reacted to the most was watching 65s jumping Supercross-style triples. that left a bigger impression on them than Chase Sexton winning the 450 class. So look out, people.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is one of the greatest parts of this series, is getting to showcase all of these different size champions as they move towards the ranks. And make no mistake, they're moving towards the big showtime part of this in a few years, right? And they're all in a different time frame. But these are the riders we'll be talking about on SMX Insider in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So it's great to be able to follow along in their journey each year during the playoffs.
Going fast, speaking of the Texas race, they actually held a press conference. They're so excited about having an SMX round. We saw some stars there. Justin Barcia, Ryder DeFrancesco, Ty Masterpool, who's Texas-based. And that's cool to see the privateer up there with Grant Harlan. And then they actually got to go and really drive and really race, not just in the van, in real cars, JT.
Yeah, this is super cool. I remember seeing when this kind of popped up, you see photos, you see social media stuff, and I'm like, wait, when did I miss an event? Like, where was my phone, right? And it's so cool that the promotional side for these riders to be able to get in the cars, and also just the lead up to our first experience at Texas Motor Speedway. I love the crossover aspects of these things, and I think the mutual respect that both sides gain from something like this is, we're trying to grow the sport and trying to get new people to understand how great SMX is. What a better way to do it than that?
Okay, and it won't be long until that NASCAR track is covered with some dirt. We can give you the track maps. We'll get to Texas, but we'll start with round one at ZMAX Dragway in Charlotte. What do you see here, JT?
Well, the first thing that pops out is we're going the opposite direction, but the theme is very similar to last year. So expect long rhythm sections. That back side of the stadium is very fast. Move on to Texas Motor Speedway. It feels a lot like Chicago last year, but I see Daytona when I look at this race. Fast, the start in the middle. It's almost a harder version of Daytona. And then you move on to Vegas, which to me will be the wild card. It's a gigantic racetrack. It looks like they're trying to incorporate the best of both worlds. It'll have rhythm sections. It's going to have that Supercross feel, but it's got many more high-speed sections than we would ever see. So maybe think Monster Cup times Supercross times Motocross. It's going to be an extravaganza, no doubt.
Yeah, and you and I were talking to the track builders at Ironman, the final round of Pro Motocross, and they're going to be there managing the outdoor sections of the track at all 3 rounds. So I think that's what threw everybody last year. They all thought it was going to be giant Supercross, and they said, oh, wait, there really are motocross-like sections, and a lot of that is the preparation of the dirt, not just the obstacles that you can see on the map. So expect people to be guessing all weekend. And finally, let's get to Team USA here. We were left guessing as to who would be on the team. Obviously, Chase Sexton was a shoe-in. He's the 450 Pro Motocross champ. There was some conjecture. Will it be Aaron Plessinger? What if a guy like Tomac or Webb comes back and is strong? In the end, they go with Plessinger. That 250 spot, that was the one that was really up for grabs, JT. Deegan decided not to participate. He's got to get surgery on his wrist. So Chance Hymas, JT, in May, if someone said Chance Hymas is on Team USA, I would have been like, what? It makes a little more sense now that we've seen 11 rounds of Pro Motocross.
In the end, we have 3 riders that truly wanted to go. And I think that's always the best. We heard from Mike Pelletier that Chance Hymas had been asking him since Washougal, texting him almost daily about wanting to attend this event. And I hope someone in the future that there's no sort of consequence, will go back and write a memoir about how all of these teams got chosen, the pushing and pulling and the decision-making process, because it is a wild story. We don't always know what to trust or what we're listening to, but how we land on Team USA each year is an incredible thing. And again, for me, most important thing, we have 3 riders that truly want to go. And I will take that any day of the week when we show up there in October.
Okay, we're wrapping up this episode of SMX Insider. One more time, here's when and where to watch the first playoff round in Charlotte. We'll have Race Day Live qualifying coverage at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Of course, that's all Peacock and or the Super Motocross Video Pass. We'll have a pre-race show at 2:30, and the gates drop at 3 o'clock, and that is all Eastern Time. So keep in mind, this is a day race in Charlotte. And there'll be a day race in Texas and a night race for the World Championship round in Las Vegas. So keep that in mind. And also, there will be a 2-hour re-air on NBC of the Charlotte round Sunday from 4 to 6 Eastern.
Hi folks, Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.